Hello, hello, Morgan Rockwell here. I've been talking a lot about love journeys, and I want to explain a little bit more about what exactly I mean by a love journey and how they're helpful for us and how we can go about shifting and healing them if they are not helpful for us or if there are things or aspects we wish we could change. So, when I'm talking about a love journey, I'm talking about like your sum total of your past experiences around love. And those can be in romantic relationships, they can be in friendships, they can be in partnerships, it can be an environmental thing, it can be um, a situation that has reoccurred throughout your life has left you feeling maybe not held and loved and seen and heard in the way that you had hoped or really desired. And it can be a thing where we start to see some patterns that happen that can be really frustrating for us, and it can make us very timid moving forward. Um, Sometimes it can feel we can be embarrassed or we can feel ashamed to look back and think about these different relationships if we've been the one that has been broken up with every single time, or we end up in a situation where we feel like we have to flex and bend and we do everything and the other person takes us for granted. um, Perhaps you get yourself into situations where you end up turning into behaviors that are just about people pleasing or keeping the peace. And on the inside, you're like, oh, but I'm really not getting my needs met. And it can really be easy to turn into avoidance, right? We can try and avoid getting into relationships, getting into any sort of intimate relationship. With our friends, with our coworkers, with a romantic partner, because intimacy can be a very vulnerable place, so we can feel not safe, and we can often try and protect ourselves to go not go there, so we don't go into these modes of behavior that maybe we don't understand or we don't like about ourselves. But if you are able to look back through your love journey like a timeline, go back and go back, you're going to start to see points along this timeline that are going to stand out. And before you do this, just stop and take pause and give yourself some grace to suspend all judgment. This is not a judgment exercise at all. This is an exercise of curiosity. And when we get really curious, then we're able to start looking at things from a different perspective. And this is a very, very good place to be, because this means we're ready to start lifting up some of those old carpets, peeling back some of those old layers that are ready to come off. You know, it's often metaphorically spoken, healing is metaphorically spoken about in terms like an onion, right? Layers of onions. Well, it's no different when we're looking back situations throughout our life of our love journey. There are layers to them, and you're going to start to see some common themes. So go ahead, give yourself that grace, suspend that judgment, and take a look. I find maybe journaling is important. And you're going to come up with at first maybe two, three, four key stories across your timeline where you have been heartbroken, you have suffered some sort of heartache or heartbreak. Um, I know for me, going back and doing this exercise was extremely revealing. And I was really surprised to see how a relationship in my 30s had similar things and similar aspects, patterns, and hidden little details as a major health crisis in my 20s. The situations that led me into a major health crisis were really similar to a situation that led me to a divorce in my 30s. And they weren't about the other person or the other situation, my choices. They were about me, my choices, my behaviors, how I chose to step out of my power. And when I say choose, I didn't choose it on a conscious level. This was a subconscious choice. It was just an old habit, pattern, program that was ingrained in me that allowed me to be flexible with my values and step out of my own power in a way that did not feel good for me. And so by going back and understanding some of these situations that had left me heartbroken, I could start to see that on some level I was making a choice to do this, and which was extremely helpful for me to figure out a point of where I could start shifting and healing. As an Akashic Records practitioner now, this is where these little gems, these little coincidences, these little similarities are gold, right? They may look like lead, but that's the thing about alchemy, right? You can turn lead into gold. And so I love working with clients going back in this direction. And if you're not ready to step up and do a big session on it, really start bringing awareness to it, and journaling it and becoming aware of these patterns are going to start shifting things in your reality, I promise. So you can move forward in a new direction. When we identify an old pattern, we are then able to release it. Let me say that again, slightly different. When an old pattern reveals itself, when we're able to see something about our past behavior, choices, whether they were conscious or unconscious, behaviors included, when something reveals itself, it means it's ready to be let go, to be healed, to be transmuted into something else. And that is the first step. And the second is, as you're being aware that you're breaking these patterns, you're breaking these habits, and you get to choose what you want to bring in more of, right? So this is the second half that is equally important, because if you take something out, it needs to be filled. And so why wouldn't anybody but you be the perfect person to fill it? So you need to be very intentional, very conscientious about what you're wanting to bring more of in. For me, in my example, it was always really important for me to break the habit, the pattern, any unconscious thinking, any unconscious um, notions that I needed to give up my power in order to be with a person, be in another situation. And I wanted to bring in more worth, right? Often underneath a behavior and an action can be even a deeper root, like I am not worthy. And so bringing in being worthy of love, being worthy of keeping your power, being worthy of your choices is going to really incredibly shift your love journey. And here's the secret key about your love journey. We are all of us here on this planet trying to figure out what love means and how it's compatible to another person, situation, environment. Well, guess what? You are the creator of your own love journey, and your love journey is specific and unique to you. Allowing things in start with you really understanding and designing your love journey. So after you have picked apart and healed and understood some of those patterns, this is where you really get to start to bring in your values, right? Bring in your concept and your idea of love and how it you want it to make you feel. How does it accompany? How does it fulfill? How does it manifest in your life? And the more clear you get about what love means to you in your heart, in your life, you are going to get really, really clear as to who and what you're going to start attracting to show up to support you in what you desire your love journey to look like. If you have questions, if you are interested in doing a love journey clearing and recalibration, that is something that I do. And you can read more about that on my site. But again, just going back and looking, identifying those patterns, what you want to bring more in of, and get really clear on your values and what it means your love journey means for you. I hope this was helpful. I'll see you next time.